This is the 10-Minute Contrarian Podcast. This is VP. We are a solutions-based podcast, diving into the world of contrarian investing and alternative finance. You can find us hosted on the No Nonsense Forex YouTube channel, NoNonsenseForex.com, and podcast players everywhere. Episode 207 is brought to us by Bybit. Do you like to trade the metals? Do you like to trade the Forex? You can do all those on Bybit as well as crypto. You can really do any combination of those things and do it on the second largest brokerage platform in the world. And if you sign up using my link and you deposit and you start trading, you get a lot more than just that. What you want to do is go down to the show notes and click on the link for the Bybit blog. Read the blog, make sure Bybit is for you, and then click my affiliate link at the bottom of that blog and get yourself signed up. When you save costs by being on the blockchain, you have a lot more room and money and latitude to do more cool stuff for your traders. And that's what Bybit does, because with Bybit membership has its rewards. It is a 10-Minute Contrarian Podcast, and I'm shooting this early again. This is on a Thursday when I'm shooting. Hopefully Friday will not give us crazy downward price action in the silver markets, because we are now officially, in my opinion, in very rarefied air as far as silver goes. We are in price discovery officially. Now, you might say, well, VP, we did hit $50 back in 2011, and I don't care, really. That was 14 years ago, and price got up there in such a hurry, there was really no price action in between 30 and 50, just kind of shot. And same thing in 1980, when the Hunt brothers tried to corner the market. It was a panic move up, and it may as well not even count. You know, in my opinion, new highs are officially here. And this is all despite every major bank in the world colluding to tamp the price down, every financial news outlet specifically being instructed not to talk about silver, or at least not talk positively about it. I was just watching CNBC and Bloomberg just to see if I could find silver on the ticker. Wasn't there. Maybe at certain parts of the day it does, but not when I was watching. But unfortunately for these people, we have social media now, and so the world cannot ignore what's going on. They're going to find out, especially the people in the investment world, and those are the people who matter. You know, if Bloomberg won't mention it, then boo-hoo. Doesn't really matter. Yeah, it's pretty remarkable when the whole world is against something, but the rest of the world understands that given the scarcity at this point, and given what we use silver for and what we will need it for in the future, hint, hint, almost all of the energy we use, which we are going to need so much of going forward, contains silver. You know, what those channels will talk about is all the solar we're going to need in the future. That's a big story right now. But they conveniently ignore that all of those panels will need lots of silver. Where is it going to come from? Now, this is what makes silver so great. It's got the precious metals component added to the industrial component. Now, in all fairness, what I have not seen is a whole lot of talk about the silver squeeze, about the amount of silver in COMEX and LBMA dwindling. Maybe that's because the accounts who report this the most have been so freaking out over these new highs. Or what's going on is those reserves are being filled back up a bit. But either way, it doesn't matter. Our patience has been rewarded, as it is almost always going to be here at the 10-Minute Contrarian Podcast. Now, if you're somebody who has not yet gotten into the silver market, and you see what's going on, and you're asking yourself now, is it too late? Well, I would instruct you to go back 1 week to episode 206. And if you think you're too late, there is a formula for you to follow to still be able to enter a market at a good price, regardless if you think it has run away from you or not. So 1, make sure you have listened to that episode. 2, let us revisit the ways you can participate in the silver market. Now, these are not all of the ways, but these are most of the most popular ways out there. First is, of course, holding physical silver on your person. You better make sure wherever you are rooted there for the next few decades, because you're going to have a hell of a time trying to move silver back and forth. You know, the doomers and the preppers out there say holding physical silver is the only way. And you go ahead and tell me the last time a doomer or a prepper was right about anything. Now, conspiracy people were right about a lot of stuff. But doomers have a really, really, really bad record. Now, you might say, well, it just takes one, VP. Okay, fair enough. But you have to determine what the odds of something like that happening actually are. We've actually discussed this a little bit on the podcast in terms of if we really do go to this crazy Mad Max world that doomers and preppers think we might be going into someday, what is the one thing you will absolutely need to have on hand? Hint, it is not gold or silver because the majority of the world no longer knows how to deal in any of those two currencies. And if the internet is shut down and there's no electricity, how are they going to go learn about it? I always say, okay, walk me through this scenario. And when these prepper doomer guys try to do that and explain this to me, they always run into problems. Because doing things this way is not plausible. And then they'll turn around and say something like, oh, I'm going to stock up on bullets and cigarettes because you're going to need that. I'm like, well, okay, let's say you want to buy something from me and I don't smoke, or I do smoke and I got plenty of cigarettes, and I also got plenty of bullets. Because having bullets and cigarettes in an apocalypse is not some big secret. Everybody's going to be doing that. You were the only one who thought of it. So I don't need any of those things. Now what do you got? Gold and silver coins? How do I even know those things are real? Most of the people I deal with won't take them. What is the one thing, as absurd as this is going to sound to doomers and preppers, what is the one thing you are absolutely going to need a lot of should we ever get to this apocalyptic whatever world you guys are talking about? If you guys remember me talking about it, you know my answer. Anybody? You are going to need the very thing that crashed and burned in the first place. You're going to need cash. It's the only medium of exchange everybody understands. And you can use in a scenario like this where you're either going to have spotty or non-existent electricity and therefore internet. But VP, the dollar crashing is what causes this problem. It doesn't matter. You're still going to need cash, whether it's worth a little or a lot. So anyway, that was just me going off on my rant. More of an anti-physical gold and silver rant, even though I think holding it that way is just fine. It's just you have to balance out the benefits and the drawbacks. And if one of your benefits is holding it for an apocalypse, I don't think you're looking at things the right way. That's all. So, holding physical on your person is one way, and doing it offshore is another way. That's always my favorite way to do things when it comes to actual metals. But there's plenty of options in the paper market too, in the form of physical ETFs, which we've talked about on the show, and ETFs that hold the miners. I've said it here for a long time. I personally think that the cheapest silver is in the ground, even now. But learning about the mining business is really tough to do and takes probably decades to perfect. So unless you want to sit there and do that, that's fine. It's great hobby, fascinating market. But if you're like most people, the best thing to do if you want to participate is just to buy one of these ETFs and get exposure to a basket of miners, because the silver mining industry is very volatile, and the last thing you want to do is bank everything into one miner, when we've seen even the top ones can get absolutely destroyed with one bad decision or some law being passed by their government. Or in the case of certain countries, certain lower tier countries, you might end up getting a protest that shuts down the only road leading to the only mine that company owns. So many things can go wrong here. And if you know anything about the mining industry, or if you watched Gold Rush on the Discovery Channel, you know that the mining industry is just an industry where things do nothing but go wrong all the time. So spreading yourself out here, or simply just investing in the underlying asset, makes a lot of sense. But that's not where the super upside is. There will and already has been very good upside in the silver miner ETFs. But if you really want to get those 5, 10, 20 baggers, you're going to have to go into the mining space itself. Now again, VP, I don't know anything about this space. I don't want to sit around for 10 years to learn. 10 years from now, silver price is probably going to be $800. I want to get in now. What do I do? What you do is, and I've talked about this a lot as well, you guys who've been around, you know this, find somebody who does know what to do, and you follow them. My favorite is Don Durrett. Don Durrett used to have all of his best information behind a paywall at his website. For some reason, he has decided to give all of his best information out for free on YouTube. So simply go to YouTube, search his name. He will give you his top 20 silver miners, his top 20 gold miners. And then really you can just simply take those companies and plug them into your charts and take it from there. Now, you might miss this little tidbit from Don, but one of the things he did say months ago that resonated with me so much going forward is that when it comes to upside, there's already so much upside in the top producers that you absolutely do not need to go any lower than that. You don't even need to mess around with mid-tier producers. You don't need to mess with junior explorers. There's no need. The upside you seek is already there with the top producers. Kind of like what I say in the crypto market. You don't need to go all the way down the risk curve to find 20 baggers. We might have them right in front of us right now in the top 20 tokens on CoinMarketCap right now. So that's kind of nice from a downside perspective. Because let me tell you, if you're not in this market, you're going to want to be. If you only have a little bit of exposure, you're going to want more. Not financial advice, just my personal opinion, because I can tell you firsthand when these things run, boy, do they run. My lowest cap stock that I own has gone absolutely bananas. I took profit on it a few weeks ago, and I mentioned this on X. And it's like, did I want to? No, but you have to do it. I have absolutely no regrets because this discipline that I have is exactly what's gotten me to where I am with my portfolio. So, it's a lesson in learning about the space, entering the space, being patient, and then taking profit when you probably don't want to. All things that are a little bit uncomfortable, but unfortunately that's where the money is. Uncomfortable? Boo-hoo. Do it anyway. And stop worrying about feeling dumb if you get it wrong. Because we here, as we say and as we have experienced many times already, we are not crazy. We're just early.